Oh, you've had the best of intentions. You meant to review that new placement test. You meant to follow up with the teacher's curriculum question. You meant to plan the next term's professional development for the team, but instead, you spent the day answering scheduling questions, sorting billing issues, chasing invoices, double checking attendance, updating calendars, and apologizing for one more thing that slipped through. Sound familiar? This is what happens when you care deeply about pedagogy, but you get buried in operations.
Hey there, it's Kelly, and if you're here for miracle fixes, shiny classroom hacks, or whatever today's buzzword is trending, yeah, not gonna happen. What you will get is real talk about English teaching, teacher training, and the chaos we actually deal with in ELT. So let's get into it.
I've seen this over and over and over again with owners, academic managers, coordinators. The passion for teaching is always there. They love it. They love everything about the school, the environment, the whole classroom dynamic. But the reality of running a school and administrative tasks really kind of takes over and consumes their days. Fires to put out, inboxes to manage. The work that actually improves teaching, like planning mentoring programs, refining curriculum, building that professional development that your team desperately wants and needs, it gets pushed to the bottom of the list every single week. And there's a problem. When pedagogy takes the back seat long enough, the whole school feels it. So here's the cost of throwing everything about the pedagogical department into the back seat. 1, what happens with your teachers? Well, they start to feel unsupported. Even if you're working your ass off behind the scenes, like you are running around all the time, they stop expecting structure feedback because they're used to it being vague or sporadic, or the what's up message or just kind of lingers without an answer. Yeah. It's not even intentional. It's just that it turns into pedagogy is optional here. 2, what happens to the curriculum? Well, the quality starts to drift. Materials aren't reviewed, they're not updated, inconsistencies start creeping in, and without a shared pedagogical focus, everyone starts kind of doing whatever works for them individually, which might not line up with the school's goals or standards, or their marketing campaign starts saying one thing and what's happening in the classrooms is something different. So that's not great either. What happens with leadership? Well, the team ends up in survival mode, possibly leading themselves right down the path to a little bit of burnout. You're no longer steering the ship. You're bailing out the water of a sinking one. And that's not the job that you signed up for. So people get frustrated and they want to bail themselves instead of bailing the water. How can we have a bit of a mindset shift here? You don't need to teach to lead pedagogy. Let's be clear. You don't have to be in the classroom to influence teaching quality. But you do need to think like an educator, and thinking like an educator requires time, mental space, and you can't get that in if you're being reactive 24/7 to all of the admin problems that are going on. You don't have to be in front of the students, but you do need to be observing. You need to be supporting teachers. You need to be giving some feedback on lesson observations. You need to be doing all of those things. If you're not, you might be in survival mode. You got to ask a bigger question. And the question is not, how can I get everything done? That's the wrong question. The right question is, what are we actually building here? Because that question demands everyone on the team to step back, look at the bigger picture, and start prioritizing the work that actually shapes the school in the long term. So, how do we draw the line between maintenance and development? We have to let's define the two, because if we don't define what we're doing, and you're just spinning your wheels, my friend. So maintenance work, scheduling, reporting, answering admin questions, troubleshooting the tech problems that everybody always has. These things always happen. Yeah. Developmental work is creating a mentoring program, for example, revising the syllabus, designing the professional development frameworks. Listen, I'm not saying one is more important. Both matter, but only one moves the school forward. Take that little nugget. So you got to look at your calendar the past month, to all those school leaders out there, and how many hours went to maintenance versus development. Start categorizing the tasks that you're doing and how much time you're spending doing maintenance problems and all of that good stuff, and how much time are you actually developing so that the school gets better, higher quality, more credibility. If you're like most school leaders that I've met, that I deal with, I'm going to go with your mix is probably a 90-10 split at best. It's just from my experience. But one side is going to be very, very heavy, and the other side is going to be slightly neglected. So how can we shift from maintenance to development? Well, first, Pedagogy Time goes in the calendar as if it were a meeting you cannot cancel. And do you know what I put for my calendar things actually to help me with this? Because I had a tendency of putting things like, oh, it would be, I put like materials development. And then someone was like, oh, I can only meet you today at 2 p.m. Well, that's right, my materials development time. Okay, well, if you can only do it, that's fine. Well, I'll just do that tomorrow. Everything always got pushed off. I would write it down as a mental note. When I clicked on it to change the meeting or to remove the meeting, I would put medical emergency, death in the family, not able to speak or function. Like I would put exactly the criteria of what I can substitute in there. And it was the extremes. Because for me, I need to be able to say no to people. Sorry, I don't have 2 p.m. That time is dedicated to something that's important. Just because I'm not physically meeting with someone doesn't mean I can just delete that from my schedule and then it never gets done. So even if you do it just 1 hour a week, it really does make a difference, and you have to protect it from everything else. If you have to write it down like I do, like to cancel this meeting, it's not like, are you sure to cancel? No. Does it fall into one of these categories? Is it a medical emergency? Did someone pass away? No? Okay, you can't cancel this. That's it. Because that time is where long-term quality comes from. Other things are important too, but you also have to keep your eye on the long-term quality. Tip number 2, delegate the noise. So if, sorry, sparkling water sometimes goes down a little on the wrong side. Anyways, if you're personally solving every platform glitch, responding to every parent concern, or filing these papers that somebody else could clearly do, or filling gaps that could be automated, for example, you're not leading, you're firefighting. You can't do everything, so you got to pick and choose. So you have to start asking, does this need me? Me specifically, it needs me, or does this just need to get done? And someone else is perfectly well suited to be able to do this. And number 3, you can involve your team. Pedagogical leadership isn't a solo sport. Bring in some of your experienced teachers into doing like curriculum review, things like that. I did that. No problem with it. You could let them co-create some of the systems. You build a shared ownership just to make sure that everybody has a little, piece of the pie and people take responsibility for it, and that's great. So you're not the only one carrying the vision. You're creating future leaders too. Like, sometimes people in leadership positions, honestly, I feel like if you are guarding that position and you don't let anybody else in because you're afraid that if they get too good at it, they're going to take your job, then probably they should take your job now. That's my general opinion. If I'm training someone or if I'm helping someone and that person surpasses me in whatever accolades that you find to be important in your priorities, that's actually a testament to how well I do my job as a teacher trainer, as a coordinator, as whatever I am in whatever organization I'm working for. So yeah, it's weird when people are like, no, I have to control this. I have to maintain this. This has to be in my hands. Why? Like, give it to somebody else. If they become this amazing teacher, amazing trainer, amazing coordinator, that's only supporting and giving evidence that you actually know what you're doing and you can create future leaders. So for me, that's a good thing. But hey, so here's the payoff. Schools that make the shift of saying, all right, we need to balance maintenance and development. The schools that kind of turn this around don't do it by adding more hours or by hiring an army. They do it by creating space for pedagogy. It's important for it to be visible for the entire team, and they make it intentional again. It's not shooed off to the side. That's the ones that typically continue growing and continue like kind of turning things around. Or you can just, live in the chaos for however long you want to. And when the teaching team sees that leadership engaged in their reality, because the pedagogy part is the teacher's reality, quality goes up, morale goes up, retention improves. And yes, sometimes even, and I'm going to say more than likely, the school's reputation will improve too. Without the need of fancy marketing or clinging on to influencers or doing any of that stuff. Your reputation just improves because word of mouth, people are happy and they're doing good things and teachers are good and life is nice in the classroom. So if your school has started to feel like an emergency room as opposed to an educational institution, it's time to change the operating model. It's not going to work. You need to protect the time for pedagogy, especially if you're in a position that is literally in the title of your position, pedagogical XYZ, studies director of study. I don't know, if something academic is in your title, then you got to protect time for pedagogy. You got to build systems that outlast you. And you have to lead in a way that means you're not just keeping the lights on. You're building a place that teachers can thrive in. Students not only survive, they're thriving too. People are seeing progress and people are really excited about being in that space because it's nice and it feels good. So if you're ready to reclaim time, systems, and strategies, make it happen. And if you need, I'd love to help you design it.
That's it for today. If you want more, I've got binge-worthy playlists right here on the channel. You can also grab some resources at kellypenningtonelt.com, Instagram at kellypenningtonelt, and yes, even LinkedIn, where I do my best impression of being professional. Links below. See you in the next one.